Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Ivona or V, and today I am going to go deeper down this rabbit hole of watching videos of something that I'm currently not participating in. Yesterday I saw the Dragonflight launch trailer, and it was actually really cool. And again, I don't want to see this as, my own personal road to, to going back to World of Warcraft, because right now I have no plans or means or time or resources or anything of the sort to actually jump into the game and play it for myself, which is the reason why I watch these videos in the first place and share them with you so that I can at least talk to the community about the game and about how they're feeling right now, about everything that's different about Dragonflight and whatnot. And I feel that historically, Asmongold's reviews of the first few days of the expansions have been pretty accurate and pretty on point, which is why I don't mind watching them. And we're just gonna watch it together. So yeah, let's go.
What's up, boys? Today I want to talk to you about Dragonflight, my first impressions with the expansion, and just in general, sit outside for the first time in a long time, actually. It's been a while since I made a video outside, and so glad to be back again. And I'd like to sit down and talk with you all about my first impressions with the game. Now, before anybody goes and gets too wild, I want to say one thing. Usually, the problems with the expansions do not manifest themselves until a couple of weeks.
That was a big problem in the last expansion, which is the reason why even if I wanted to play World of Warcraft right now, I probably wouldn't, because I too was really swayed by the very the very first impressions of Shadowlands. I did have Shadowlands pre-purchased, and I think a lot of us did, and I enjoyed the expansion, not really realizing that there are these glaring issues that only became really obvious once people, went through the story and leveling and everything. And once this experience, like week after week after week, started repeating itself. And I don't know, and I can't tell if it's the same with Dragonflight or not. I would hope not, and I hope that they learned a lot from this experience. But I feel like with Blizzard, I will never again be swayed into playing the game at the very start of the expansion. And I feel like a lot of people are sitting out for the launch. The launch has been apparently good and clean and whatnot, but I feel like a lot of people feel the same way I do. Not really wanting to jump into the expansions straight away, thinking that the same thing is going to happen, just like with Shadowlands. And I feel like it's a normal human reaction after lost trust and being burned by something. And I think that's completely okay, and I don't think that should stop us from participating in the community and talking about these things. Of course, I'm not going out there talking about the expansion like I know what it's really about or what it's like or whatever. I'm just basically making these videos as a call for discussion, because I want to see what you have to say about this and how you, as a part of my community, or as someone new who just stumbled upon these videos, and if you did, you can press that subscribe button and be a part of the community as well. I just want to hear what you have to say about this.
Into the first season, a couple of months into the expansion, then you start to see where the problems are. But we're at that good point right now in the game where the truth is that it doesn't really seem like it's that bad. It's actually kind of fun, if you can imagine that. I went through the leveling process. I'm level 70 now. I've gotten a few pieces of epic gear. I've done some of the dungeons. I've gone through some of the reputations. I did all the dragon riding stuff, and I want to talk to you about it today. But I do want to say that this is in no way, shape, or form a review or a comprehensive evaluation of the expansion. It's just simply my impressions of it playing the game. So the first thing is the actual launch of the expansion. I think that in general the launch went very well for me. I've gotten relatively lucky with launches. And the reason why I say lucky is that there are some servers that just completely got fucked. This happened in BFA, it happened in Shadowlands, it happened in
The
Legion, It happens every fucking time.
I remember this same exact thing happening in Shadowlands. I remember back when there was the Shadowlands launch, I had two characters. One was my main, which was on Sylvanas, EU, and the other one was that one was on the Alliance, and the other one was on Horde, which is something that I started leveling because I had a bunch of friends who were raiding in a horde guild, and I wanted to raid that expansion. So I was on Kazakh EU, and I remember not being able to play on Kazakh at all, whereas pretty much all of my guild members were able to log in and start leveling, start doing the dungeons and whatnot. And for the first like 2 days, Kazakh for me was just unavailable. So I remember just playing on my actual main that I used to main before that, which was my feral druid. And after that, I had to like abandon that character and all of the progression that I've made on that one as soon as Kazakh became available for pretty much everyone, so that I could participate in the raiding and gearing up and everything. So I felt like those first few days, even though I wanted to play the game, it felt like I was just kind of wasting my time just because I couldn't play the character that was important for me to level up. Even though eventually I would level up both of them, it just turned out the way it did, and I was not happy during this launch. And I can imagine that some servers were more unstable than others, but I from what I'm hearing right now, most people had a good experience with Dragonflight launch, and I'm just really happy about that. Honestly, the way I see this is like when you end a relationship, and when a time when sometime like goes by, you kind of look at that person and you don't wish them ill. You just kind of are happy to see them succeed and do good or whatever. And that's kind of how I want to feel about World of Warcraft. Like, I still want to be friends with World of Warcraft, and I still want them to be happy and to make other people, other players happy. And I just hope that they are on the way to doing that.
Where there's just one server or two servers or a handful of them that is just completely dysfunctional for the first day or two. And obviously that's bad, but in general, the launch was relatively smooth for me and what I would say probably the majority of people, outside of some disconnect issues that I think in many cases had to do with joining instances or being on your dragon. So the leveling process, as soon as I got in, was actually very good. I enjoyed the leveling process a lot more than I enjoyed it in Shadowlands and also in BFA. In Legion, I think I probably also enjoyed it more than in Legion.
That was
I
fun.
think that in general, the story was, it was, they were all told, like each of the different zones were told separately, but they were all part of a greater narrative. I think also one point where, I mean, this is not really a first impressions, this is, I think, a fucking fact, that the in game cinematics with like the character models and the rigging that they have for facial expressions, etc., and you can see this explicitly with Caligos, is way better. It is like
Yeah,
fucking insane how much better it is than it was last expansion, and even more so than the expansion before
that's
that.
good.
It doesn't look as I don't know, as fake, I guess you could say, and it just was really really good. And I think actually the stories of the different
The problem with World of Warcraft is that the game used to really suffer from these like overly expressed emotions, or emotions expressed in just a very comical way. For someone who doesn't play World of Warcraft, maybe this is something that you didn't know, but some of the main story characters, like, I don't know, like Jaina, like Sylvanas, sometimes they would be drawn and rigged in such a weird way that like just their facial expressions during cutscenes would like not match their mood at all. And some of these are just downright weird when you look at them, and those are supposed to be like the main big story points where you're supposed to get immersed, but instead you're looking at them just kind of flailing their hands in the air and just making these dumbass facial expressions, and you just don't understand why they're acting the way they're acting. And I'm glad they're working on it.
different zones was a lot better than what we got in Shadowlands, and I think it was also a lot better than what we got outside of probably BFA. Besides maybe the Jaina storyline and the Drusvar arc, which
Hmm.
I thought was pretty cool. Other than that, I think that it's been a massive step up in terms of narrative storytelling, in terms of showing the characters in the world actually like interacting with each other. The cinematics are better, the dialogue is better. I would say that just in pretty much all cases, it's a massive improvement. I think one of the uh, one of the best examples of why I think that it's very good is that, like, whenever you're doing the first zone and there's like this dwarf that's like sitting off like looking out into the distance, and you go through and you do a bunch of dialogue with him, and then after you finish the dialogue you unlock a special quest to
Hmm.
do for him. Well, the thing is that whenever there was a post about this, everybody responded to the post saying how great it was and how much they liked it. And in general, they knew who this dwarf was and they thought that it was a sympathetic story in a way that they were able to relate to and respond to. And I think that's really impressive because whenever I think back to a lot of the main characters in Shadowlands, I honestly don't give a fuck about any of them.
I would like to think that this is something that they learned not just from their experience, but maybe also from taking a closer look at what Final Fantasy XIV does as a game, because there is a special kind of relationship and connection that Final Fantasy XIV players do develop with the characters from the story, based on their interactions, based on what they've seen. For those of you who haven't played FF14, what's really for me, what's really cool in the game is that when you go through a quest line, there will be additional points of dialogue or cutscenes or something like that if you've previously interacted with that character in another big story point. Whether it's the MSQ or some side quest or a side raid that you did where that character was present or led you through it or whatever. And it's actually kind of cool. And I remember when I was starting the game, when I was going through the main story quest line, I actually think I missed out on a lot of these things because I quested with some friends who said that as I was reading through the quest line that they had a different narrative. And in their narrative, because they've already done like some side quests or raids or whatever, in their narrative, there would be references to what they previously did. And it's kind of a cool thing to play the game and to feel like the characters within that game kind of remember you. And hopefully that's something that can over time be more implemented in World of Warcraft as well.
I think they're stupid, they were pointless, and the character development was generally awful. Besides Denathrius, who was a fucking Giga Chad.
Yeah.
Everybody else sucked. So, anyway, besides that,
I'm glad I was
I
there
would
for
also say that
Denathrius.
just dragon riding throughout the entire expansion reminded me a lot of Cataclysm. I know this is going to be one of my more hot takes. I actually really enjoyed Cataclysm. I think that's for a lot of reasons outside of video gaming, though. Like where I was in my life, what I was doing, etc. How old I was. I think that's probably a bigger reason why I enjoyed Cataclysm more so than the content, but nonetheless, I did enjoy Cataclysm, and it reminded me a lot of that, being able to fly around after just being part of the zone just right then, actually, with Cataclysm, and I really enjoyed that, and I really liked being able to learn dragon riding and also like collect the little dragon symbols and the tokens that like make your dragon run faster, or sorry, fly
Oh,
faster, and do all those things, and then learning the nuances of it and doing the advanced trials. Now, I think that it's very enjoyable and it's just straight up fun. And I think that Blizzard focusing more on fun and just adding content into the game that is enjoyable that people want to do an interface with. I think this is just such a much more sustainable model for development versus trying to create people that are, like they're logging in every.
I think I think that this is going to become more obvious, especially to the people who have just joined in to Dragonflight, when they want to go back and maybe do some of the older quests and whatnot. I think only then will these things become obvious to maybe to new players, to players maybe who played FF14 and now want to see World of Warcraft, when apparently this expansion is good. And it's going to be such a massive difference in experience. And people think that the transition from Realm Reborn to Heavensward, for example, is massive. But once all of these new players go back and try to quest through, I want to say Draenor, or maybe Battle for Azeroth, or even Shadowlands with its convoluted systems and whatnot. I feel like those differences are going to become so obvious, and it's kind of a shame, because if you want to experience the whole game, you are still going to have to go through these old systems that they've learned from, and are no longer in the game, but they are still, well, in the new game, but they're still in the old game, and you still have to play them. And honestly, that's something that is very demotivating for me, as someone who's who considers herself a new player. I'm not a new player, but I did join in World of Warcraft in Warlords of Draenor, which is probably kind of late in comparison to a lot of people who have played World of Warcraft during its peak, which was probably like what, Lich King. I never got to play Wrath of the Lich King when it was the current expansion, and in a lot of ways, that is something that makes me sad. But I don't think I don't know. I don't think it would be good for me to go back and actually play on Lich King now that it's in Classic. I don't know if it would be the same. I do have friends who I want to play with who are doing that right now, but I don't know if it would be a good decision for me to open up that rabbit hole. Probably not. But yeah, in general, I think these differences are going to be super obvious.
Either Torghast or to do some sort of calling quest or some fucking bullshit because of some system that if you get behind on, you lose your raid spot with, or you can't get
Yeah.
into pugs anymore because you don't have it. I think that the shift away from that, and even Ian, I think, talked about this in the Preach video, the Mike Preach Wild, by the way. I would massively recommend watching this video. It's over an hour long and it's worth every minute. But he actually even referred to it as the AP era. You have artifact power,
Well,
Azerite power, and anima power. Um, that was the AP era, and that's basically something that they are saying that this is behind us. We're not going to do this anymore,
mhm.
and thank God for that. What a massive relief! And I think that
Honestly, I think, do you know how like they say when you're in therapy or whatever, that the first like step towards recovery is admitting that you're wrong? And I know how hard it is for Blizzard to actually go ahead in front of a camera and admit these things that the community has known for such a long time, and we never actually got official confirmation that yes, this is where we made a massive mistake. And it takes a lot of, I think, internal dialogue within the company for them to be okay with admitting something like that online in front of everyone. And I'm glad that they're finally at the point where everybody's on board with actually going ahead and talking about these issues.
the focus on just a more relaxed tone. I like the storylines in the game. I think they're more interesting. I think they're more personal. I think that that's one of the things that really has been missing with WoW is having characters that you feel a personal connection to. And I think that with Shadowlands, or not with Shadowlands, with Dragonflight, I think
Dragonland.
that's much more evident and it's much more clear. And I think that having the better rigging for those characters helps humanize them that much more, even whenever they are dragons. So yeah, quests were great. Leveling experience was great. It was also very fast. I would say leveling was faster than it was in previous expansions, and
Hmm.
I definitely appreciate that. I don't really want to go through and spend a whole lot of time leveling my character for the 18th time or something like this. And I also like how leveling ends and then you can continue doing the storyline, but you don't have to right away. You don't have to do
Hmm.
that. You can go do something else after you actually hit max level at 70, And I also find that very much appreciated because I didn't want to do that. I wanted to go out and do the mythic dungeons and fuck around, exploit some mobs. It's a good time. I got 279, 379 weapons out of that. Hopefully Blizzard doesn't take those away from me. So yeah, I had a really good time doing that, and I think in general the philosophy around providing tools for the player to have fun with, but not telling them how to have fun, has been a massive improvement, and I've really enjoyed it a lot. And overall, I think the leveling experience has been the best it has been in a long, long, long time, and it's very overdue. So yeah, leveling experience absolutely S tier, amazing cinematics, huge improvement, the best they've pretty much ever done in terms of, you might not enjoy the actual cinematic, the subject matter of the cinematic, but I think that if you look at the way that the characters are moving and the designs and everything like that, I think that this is also the best it's ever been, and
Hmm.
that's great to see. Dungeons, I think that in general, I've enjoyed the dungeons. They're fine. I am a little bit exhausted from. You always, like, this is like a thing now with WoW, and like every time that you do a mythic dungeon, like every trash mob has like three separate abilities, and it can be a bit exhausting to do with that like
Hmm.
throughout the entire dungeon. I don't know how that's going to feel on Mythic Plus. I think that a lot of the dungeons that people are steamrolling and thinking are very easy in Mythic Zero, I think they're going to be for a very rude awakening in Mythic Plus, but we'll have to wait and see. Maybe that's just my own opinion. But overall, I've really had fun playing the expansion. Dragon riding has been a lot of fun, and I hope they continue to make more content out of it. And I think there's one really good way to make more content out of it is to just add dragon riding to the entire game, and then just let people choose whether they want to use dragon riding or normal flying mounts. There is a lot of value in using a normal flying mount because you can just simply tab out, jerk off, come back into the game, and you're already where you need to be. Or you're 10 feet out or 10 miles out into the great ocean and you're dead and you have to take res sick. One or the other, it's either way something that is very convenient. So, what I'm really trying to say is that I hope they add dragon riding and they add a little bit more of those different little time trials and the flying missions around the open world and the old world as well, in Azeroth and maybe Outland, Northrend, etc. I think the entire player base seems to really enjoy, well, almost the entire player base. There's never everybody that likes something, but many people really seem to enjoy dragon riding. And I'll be honest,
Honestly, I've never, what would be the word, dragon ridden, but I'm failing to see why someone would just go and actively dislike something that, from at least the outside point of view, looks like an improvement and looks like something that's just fun to do for people. But just like he said, there's always people who are going to be unhappy about something, and nothing is ever 100%. But I would be curious to hear about why people dislike dragon riding. Maybe not because of the reasons that we already know, that because they nerfed it in beta and it used to be faster. Like, if there's someone who actually hates dragon riding for what it is, I'd like to know more about it and just kind of hear their side of the story, I guess.
I'm one of them. I think it's great. There's been a lot of people I see out there. Oh my god, I thought that was a wasp.
Oh god.
Oh my god. All right. So anyway, it was not. It was a moth. So yeah, I think a lot of people like dragon riding, and it's been enjoyable. The classes are fun to play, and it really is just going to depend on kind of how things evolve and how Blizzard changes the game and makes it different after the first line of feedback is received, after the first expansion or season comes out, and we really start to see the nuts and bolts of the game, and we get to actually play it to its full potential.
Hmm.
I think that's really where the expansions become truly tested, is how do these functions work whenever they're actually put in a competitive environment? How do they work whenever people are using them regularly and the honeymoon period is worn off? That's what's really going to define whether Dragonflight is a
Yeah.
good expansion or not. But I think the actions that Blizzard has already taken with Dragonflight and the way that they've taken those actions indicates that they really do want to make the game better for the players. And I do not really say that lightly.
As a content creator, I used to think that there is an enormous amount of value in just being there for the launch. And I was there for the Shadowlands launch. And I remember maybe for the first, I don't know, couple of days or so, there's been a lot of people, on stream who wanted to check out the game or whatever. But long term, it doesn't really have that much value if the game is discovered to just be shit. And that's why I, as a content creator, from my point of view, where I want to be there for launches because, because it is kind of, my job to be there for launches. I've decided to not be there for World of Warcraft and for Dragonflight because I think that there's less value in it if the game just proves to be shit later on, because even if the game is good at the beginning, long term it doesn't really retain, I don't know, viewers or whatever from a content creator's point of view anyways. And I decided to like not really be swayed by this opportunity, or the notion of opportunity of having people there for the launch and whatnot, especially if I'm not going to commit to the game long term, which is not my goal. And that's why I'm just okay with just kind of sitting out and seeing how other people experience the game. And even if I ever do want to go through the story and through the leveling to just see what the expansion is like, uh I still don't think that it would be detrimental to, to me as a content creator. So I think I'm being more okay with that.
That in many cases that hasn't been the case. And for some people who are doomers, I will absolutely throw you guys a bone. It is absolutely indefensible to not have the creation catalyst available on week one for season one. And I think it's fucking ridiculous. They should just let people get their tier gear, and then that's that, and it's not a big deal. If you're worried about people quitting the game after they get their tier gear, that's a problem with the game, not the tier gear.
Yeah.
So, in general, I do think that there are some things that Dragonflight can absolutely improve on. Things like making Soar for Drakthir not as good. I don't really see the value in this. It was very stupid for them to do that, in my opinion.
One of my very dear friends said to me the this one time, and I have to completely agree with it. He said that the best time to play a World of Warcraft expansion is after the new expansion comes out, because pretty much everything that people have complained about the expansion gets resolved by the end of that expansion. You're still not super powerful, and like even if you are leveled through the next expansion and you go back, like you're not one hitting the mobs. There's no, I don't know, crowds or anything that would kind of stop you from, from having a good experience. And overall you just get to have fun with a fixed game, and hopefully we can move on from this experience where they fix the game at the very end, but instead people actually find that the best time to play a new expansion is at the beginning of the expansion. That would be the true change that I think everyone wants to see in World of Warcraft.
But overall, I think that a lot of the changes that have been made to the game have been made on such a foundational level that I've always said that an expansion, in order to make WoW a good game again, it will not take an expansion, it will take two or three. It seems as though Dragonflight could be the first one.
Hmm.
We have a long way to go. I'm glad Blizzard has started listening, and I hope they continue to listen. And I hope people can enjoy the game and give good feedback as well on how to make it even better. So, yeah, I've enjoyed Dragonflight a lot. I've had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun at the beginning of Shadowlands too, and also at the very beginning of BFA, less so with Legion. But in general, there's always going to be that early honeymoon phase for the
Yeah.
game where you enjoy it and you have fun, and it's nice to be in one of those right now. I hope it lasts for as long as possible, and I hope that whenever it wears off, we'll at least have a decent game whenever we can actually look back and see what's really going on. And if we don't, I hope Blizzard listens and can improve it as soon as possible rather than waiting to withhold changes for content later on. So, yeah, that's in general the way I feel about Dragonflight. I'd be curious to hear what you guys think about it. But to be completely honest, the sun is going down and it's going to be dark in about 5 or 10 minutes, so I'm going to end the video here. Let me know in the comments what you guys think, and I will be playing through pretty much everything on Dragonflight on Twitch. Obviously, you guys see on the YouTube videos, etc. So I will be doing more of that. So I'll see you guys there. I had to end stream early today, so I figured I would do one of.
I'm overall just, I'm very happy to hear a very peaceful, video from asmongold, which is not too characteristic for him. And I would guess that unfortunately the videos where he is just raging about some systems and whatnot get a lot more comments and a lot more traction, because people are naturally attracted to drama, to complaining, and to just bad things in general. But I'm hoping that a lot of people do get to see this kind of video and listen to it, even knowing that they're not gonna, I don't know, experience this hive mind rage in the comments and indulge in it, at least not early on and this early into the expansion. And hopefully people can at least see some of the positives that are coming from Blizzard right now. I can't believe I'm actually really going ahead and saying it, but I'm glad for everyone who is playing Dragonflight right now. I'm honestly very happy that people are having a good experience. And as per usual, I would love to hear your thoughts on it and how you're doing in Dragonflight, if you're playing, if you're not playing, why you're not playing, or if you're ever going to be playing. Just just drop your thoughts in general. If you happen to be new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. And if you haven't subscribed to asmongold, which I honestly doubt, make sure to do that as well. But yeah, that's gonna be it for me today. I really enjoyed the video, and thank you to asmongold for making it. Thank you for watching it along with me, and I will see you in my next one. Take care, have fun, and bye bye.